Welcome back. Now, Namibia is exploring sustainable ways to grow its economy while protecting natural resources and creating opportunities for local communities through the circular economy. Now, to discuss the upcoming circular economy dialogue from policy to practice, building inclusive and sustainable solutions for Namibia's development, we're now joined by Gerold Dreyer, who's a consultant for MSME, market access, as well as export promotions, and Peti, Wanner, who's a senior specialist in circular economy department for Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Perhaps maybe let me start with you, Gerold. We understand that the Embassy of Finland, together with the Namibia Investment Promotion Board, NIPDB, and the Namibia University of Science and Technology are hosting this circular economy dialogue in Windhoek. Talk to us about what this is all about. We hear the word circular. What does that mean for ordinary Namibians, and why is it important to have this conversation?
Yes. So this year, together with the Embassy of Finland and NUST, we are co-hosting this forum. And as the theme suggests, it's really going from policy to practice, right? So it's around highlighting practical, innovative circular economy models and looking at how we can replicate those in mining, agriculture, and energy, which are our focus sectors. In terms of circular economy, it's really finding ways to essentially create a loop, right? How do we make things more sustainable? How do we make it more efficient? And ensuring there's as minimal waste as possible, but at the same time that we're being innovative in our approaches. So circular economy applies in all sectors, right? It applies in everyday life, and it's a collaborative effort between all of us, whether it's public sector, private sector, as well as the community and academia. And this is also why we've collaborated with NUST and the Embassy of Finland, because in as much as it's a collaborative approach, we really want to understand the policies that guide the sector or circular economy, but then also promote the community level as well as private sector projects that are currently in these three sectors. And the idea there is really to look at then also how do we address the challenges in these three sectors, particularly around climate resilience, waste management, and also energy efficiency.
Now, Peti, in terms of what a circular economy is, what is a circular economy, perhaps maybe from the context of Finland, and why should Namibians be interested in this discussion and this circular economy that you're promoting? Is it for the benefit of Namibia, or is it for the benefit of Finland?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, circular economy is absolutely needed because the world is a kind of closed system, and there's a finite resources, because we just cannot continue as things have been going, like this linear model. It's everywhere where we look. It's kind of this take, make, waste. We extract materials, we produce goods, and then we just throw them away very quickly. But the circular economy is a different system, like Gerold mentioned. It's that we keep the material in the loop for a longer time, reuse and repair and refurbish, and so we are able to make new jobs. I have been reading some studies, for example, that circular economy creates 30 to 200 times more jobs than landfills or incineration. And so circular economy is very much needed everywhere, and it makes, in addition to environmental aspects, there's the economic system transfer is there as well. It's an economic system, and also it enhances resilience of the economies.
Can enhance resilience. Now, Gerold, we understand that this dialogue will focus on key sector, which you also mentioned a bit, that is mining, energy, and agriculture. Why specifically these sectors? We know that, when it comes to mining, it's one of the largest contributor to GDP. We know that energy is also very crucial. You can't have development without energy, but obviously 30% of power is produced locally, 70% is imported. Agriculture is a great contributor to GDP. Is this some of the reasons as to why you picked these three subsectors?
Yeah, no, very well said, actually. So yes, we identified these three sectors. Yes, because they are contributors to the GDP, and also, of course, part of the 6 National Development Plan priorities. And as you've mentioned, of course, mining as well as agriculture are highly extractive sectors, right? So these are sectors that we see almost immediate to midterm value, where impact can be created by applying circular economy approaches. And then, of course, when it relates to energy and particularly around green industrialization, that really perfectly falls in line with also then circular economy. So ultimately, the cross-cutting, theme or objective for choosing these three sectors is one, that it aligns with national priority, but also because of the immediate impact. And what we also want to highlight is ways to address the challenges around, as I mentioned earlier, energy efficiency. So really also, and resource efficiency. So really doing more by using less, right? How can we produce more by using less energy or less inputs or natural resources? And then also around climate resilience, right? As part of the industrialization and green growth, particularly with rising global temperatures and Namibia being a rather arid country, how can we implement these circular economy models to ensure that we are climate smart, but also be able to withstand the shocks of global warming? And then lastly, on waste management, the idea of circular economy, as the word economy suggests, is really finding business opportunities. So in as much as we are looking at the environmental and social aspects, we're also really looking at how to turn waste into opportunity across these sectors. And that's what we also aim to then create with this forum. We want to showcase community-driven, but also large-scale private sector projects in the circular economy and find ways that we can make them sustainable and also replicate them.
Sustainable and replicate them. Now, Peti, let's talk about the fact that Finland is recognized globally as a circular economy. What are some of the practical solutions and examples that Finland is bringing to the table through these discussions that perhaps Namibia could benefit from and probably implement as a result of this partnership?
Yeah, thank you. Well, Finland was the first country in the world to introduce a circular economy roadmap. It was done 10 years ago, and then it has been renewed a bit, and also we have a current governmental policy for circular economy. So it's very important to have this framework for companies there in which they can operate, and it's very important that it's very predictable also, so it makes easier for companies. And what we have been also learning that cooperation is so much needed. The cooperation between government and then companies, academia, and civil society, and people in general, because everybody are needed in circular economy. And also this international cooperation is very much needed. If we would, for example, do something in Finland or in Europe, it doesn't matter that much as we're doing it. Everybody in the world are doing when working to the same direction, so that we are able to use these resources as efficiently as possible, and all the side streams of production. Like in Finland, there's used to be a landfill in the city of Nokia, but nowadays there are 40 companies using each other's side streams and also producing energy, and all the municipal services are coming from the municipality, and then the University of Applied Science of Tampere is there providing research and figuring out new ways of preventing waste or planning waste out from the very beginning, and then the companies are implementing there. So there are many good, interesting cases which could be examined a little bit further, how they could be kind of adapted also to local conditions here in Namibia as well.
But yeah, I'm going to go a little bit off script, and I'm glad the fact that you mentioned Nokia. You talked about resilience. Perhaps is that also a case for Namibia to learn from? I know the CEOs of Nokia as well as BlackBerry were quoted as saying, we did nothing wrong when the evolution of the iPhone came. Is that also possibly a case for Namibians to also learn from the Finnish as of to how they were not best prepared, and to see how they can also adjust themselves with this ever-evolution that's taking place in the area of technology?
Yeah, and like Nokia has been, the company Nokia, actually it comes from the city of Nokia, and originally it was a pulp producing company, and then they went to cables and televisions and cell phones, and now they're doing networks. Yeah, absolutely, this kind of evolving and rethinking things are very much needed, and it applies also to circular economy aspects, so that we can design things in a different way, that the resources are there being used as long as possible. And And you here in Namibia, you have so much natural resources, and so that you can use the resources as efficiently as possible, and also water system, because I think there are some need for water management things, and it can be done in a very good way so that the water stays in the loop and it's not wasted. And
not wasted. Indeed. Now, Gerold, for young people and young entrepreneurs who might be watching right now who are interested in sustainability and green innovation, I mean, why should they be attending this discussion?
Yeah. So, as mentioned earlier, it's really circular economy is a collaboration, right? So everyone has a part to play. So in as much as the policymakers are creating the framework, large-scale private sector are, really driving the innovation. It's really around the grassroots and the entrepreneurs, right? Because they are developing everyday solutions that are very practical and at community level, and basically that people make use of every day. And what we've seen, especially over the last few years, is more and more entrepreneurs, dabbling in the space of circular economy. And circular economy is anything from even, just finding more efficient ways of doing something, saving resources or energy. And yes, there are entrepreneurs out there that are already doing this kind of work. So for us, it's really about showcasing those tangible examples and understanding the business models behind it. Because like he said, right, we have the resources. How can we find the gaps? Where are the challenges in terms of the inefficiencies? And then how do we turn that into an opportunity? So for example, the landfill is a classic example of, potential business solutions. I know that the city of Windhoek was working on pilot projects, I believe it was last year in 2024, where they were really giving opportunities to young people and entrepreneurs to create businesses out of waste, right? So for us, it's really about showcasing business models behind, these types of businesses, and then also then for entrepreneurs to tap into it. But more specifically, I think where the world is going, Namibia included, we are moving towards this green industrialization, sustainable development. So it's really the onus rests on entrepreneurs, of course, with the support of the ecosystem, to find the gaps, right? To be innovative, but above all, find solutions that are scalable.
Now, Peti, as we conclude our conversation this morning, let's talk about the importance of public-private partnership in ensuring that circular economy approaches are not just theoretical, but implementable. Are we going to look here at some of those solutions that, or maybe innovative ideas that Finland made it possible, and share with Namibians?
Yeah, well, actually, we have been covering that item quite a bit, so that the governments set the direction and maybe give some incentives, some policy, and so that the companies can operate in that net framework. Because companies, like Gerold has been mentioning, are the ones who are implementing and making circular economy happen. I, for example, met a very interesting Finnish company some time back, and that CEO, which was a new one, it was a family-owned company, came to the board meeting and said, okay, we are going to change this company into a circular company, and we are going to use circular plastics in our production instead of virgin plastics made out of fossil fuels. So now the company has been operating 7 years. According to that principles, they have been able to save 1,000 tons of plastic, and they are making kind of new ways of implementing these, what they are doing, these kind of dish brushes and that kind of things, so that people are buying it because it's of good quality, and it's also made out of recycled plastics, and then you can switch some parts and buy spare parts. So when you give an opportunity for people and motivation, so people can find solutions there, and they can make it as a good, sustainable, profitable business. Because at the end of the day, it's very important that it's economically profitable for the companies to do that. Do those things, and it's also good for the environment and good for the countries and good for everyone.
Okay. Gerold, we're running out of time. Who should be paying attention to this dialogue? We talked about that it's not only policymakers, it's not only business people, but does it affect ordinary Namibians? How can members of the public, for instance, follow these discussions? Is there live streaming opportunities for those that might not be able to attend in person?
Yes. So yes, we're definitely live streaming the event. It will be live streamed on Namibia University of Science and Technology's YouTube page from 8:30 tomorrow morning until 1 p.m. And again, of course, there are fully engage in the conversation, taking part in Q&As, etc. But again, it's really everyone is involved in circular economy, even just you, for example, recycling at home or at least, reusing, that's already part of circularity. It's not a business per se for you, but it's really everyone that's involved, all the way from community level and individuals, all the way then to the policymakers that set the framework, and then the businesses that create the economy part out of it.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.